and welcome to the Bookering Pod in 2022. Happy New Year, Tawny.
Happy New Year, Katee. Wow. We made it.
We made it. We've been kind of doing this podcast for a whole year. Kind of.
Okay, on a technicality, I think that we have.
We have been doing this podcast for a whole year, but half of the year is lost to data loss and me not feeling like editing the episodes. So
those were our practice pods.
Those are the practice pods.
So believe it or not, this is us coming to you with
this is us in a perfected state. Actually, this is like good.
This is the improved version. So you don't want to know about any of those first ones.
We just wanted to note that we are dressed up as best friends in a teen drama right now, where Tawny is the sexy dramatic one, and I am the goody two shoes with a secret.
That is absolutely the aesthetic vibe for us.
We got Veronica and we got Betty. It's great. We're looking great.
We're thriving.
Tawny, ask me how much I read this month.
Katee, I am dying to know, how much did you read this month?
I read 21 books to reach
my
total goal of 100.
God.
So I read 21 books this month, meaning
that is
my read too much section is going to be 15 books long, which is fine.
It's fine. It's going to be just a chill, casual time. Do you need time beyond the night?
I requested 2 minutes because I just feel I cannot possibly do it in 90 seconds.
I think it seems actually impossible in 90 seconds. I think I don't think I have time to yield to you. We're just gonna have an extra 30 seconds for you, if you're okay with that.
The 1 month where I read as much, if not more than you ever. It's December. It's always going to be December, though.
That's gonna be this is the most either of us has read in a 1 month span. Maybe ever, probably ever. So yeah, 21 that's so many. It's so many. You're a superhero.
Wow, incredible. It's amazing what a deadline and an arbitrary goal will do for me. So that's incredible.
Incredible.
So that kind of leads us into talking about first just chatting about our New Year's resolutions and our goals from last year, like how did we do overall, and then our goals for this year. So I can go ahead. So my initial goal was just to read 52 books, but then I did that in like August, and I needed it to be a nice number. So I set the new goal as 100, and I did achieve that. I did do that.
You did it.
It was exhausting at the end, but I did it. So check. My second goal was to get books primarily from independent bookstores or the library. So the way that I calculated this was that I just counted how many books I bought on Amazon this year, which was 27. That's like a lot, but I read 100 books this year. So most of them were from bookstores or the library.
Yeah.
I
think you technically made that goal.
I think I could do better this year. But you know what? Better than previous years. So yeah, not bad. Around 70% bookstores or libraries. 3 was a very general goal of read more books by people of color. And I went in and did the math on this one. So in 2020, I read 50 books and I read 4 by people of color. That's 9% approximately. This year, I read 12 books by people of color, which is 3 times as many, but that's 14% of my total of, that's 12%. Why is it saying 14? That's 12% of the goal. So percentage-wise, does not seem that impressive, but like read triple the amount. So like technically, yes, I did it. Wow. All 3 goals achieved. I also just wanted to also note that in 2020, 78% of the books I read by I read were by women, and in 2021, 90% of the books I read
Incredible.
were by women.
Love this trajectory.
And I also read significantly more books with LGBTQ plus representation. So that was like 12% versus 9% also. So wow, that I achieved all goals. For all of them, does not feel like I achieved those goals at all, except for the first one. But I technically did. So that is
You
my
did.
report on 2021 reading goals.
Yes.
Tawny, how did you do?
So I only had 2 goals. The first of which was 52 books. And that's just silly. I read 164 books in 2021, which is too many books. I got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm going to do 100. And then I did that. And I was like, okay, well, maybe like 125. And then I just kept upping it. And then I was like, maybe I'll do 3 times the original goal. And then I just landed at a random 164, which is wild. I I think I should read less in 2022. I think that is actually perhaps a goal. So, we'll see how that goes. And then the other goal that I had was that I wanted to read 50% books by BIPOC authors. And I did not meet that goal. I read 41 books by BIPOC
really
authors.
Good. That's very good.
I do feel fairly good about that number, but it is actually only 25% of my total books read. So I did not meet the goal, but I feel like in terms of volume, I did all right, I think.
Yes.
So
I mean, I think part of the lesson learned is that what helps us read more books by diverse authors is reading too much.
Yes. that could be the thing, the key there.
Yeah, I also, so for 2022, my goal is 50 books, and my goal is actually to stay around 50 books. I will surpass it, I imagine, but I'd like to stay in that neck of the woods. I think that would be a good one. The more difficult goal is the next one, which is reading 20 books from my physical to be read TBR shelf. I today created my shelf where I put every book that I own that I've not read. It's alarming. Actually, it's a very long shelf. It's like 4 shelves put together, which is why it's a long shelf. It's a lot of books, and it's like, oh yeah, I should do that. So 20 of those are gonna be read. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I would also like to write book reviews as I go, as I finish each book on Goodreads, instead of writing my bookering pod notes an hour before the episode, if I write them at all. And I also think just be good for me to like have a log of every book instead of just 5. I'd like to read 20 books by POC. I think it's good to have like a number and not like a percentage or just the word more, to like feel a little more concrete. I think that's very doable, as like a good bit of my TBR shelf is also written by people of color. And then my last very arbitrary book goal is just Joan Didion. She passed away, and everyone on the internet was like, Joan Didion means so much to me, and I love her work. And I was like, I am deeply unfamiliar with anything she's ever done. I've heard her name. That's all I got. So I guess I'm gonna read something by Joan Didion, and I'm gonna know her vibe.
And then you're gonna know the thing.
I'm gonna find out.
That is good. That is good. So my goals for 2022, my total number to read goal is at 100. I think that this feels good. I'm just in the habit now of reading at this weird pace where and reading every single day and not being able to stop. And so I think that I like this. It's a good habit. It's fun. I'm getting a lot out of reading right now. And so I do want to still read at a high volume, but like maybe I don't need to be so crazy. Maybe I could chill out. Maybe I could take more time and spend more time enjoying the books that I'm reading, as opposed to just like, okay, on to the next, gotta go. Because that feels that feels less satisfying. So 100, I don't want to be at 164 again at the end of the year, but like who knows. And then also because my percentage of BIPOC authors read was 25% for last year, I am actually just going to up that to 30% for this year. Even though you just said that you don't like putting a percentage on it, it feels good to me, so I'm going to do that.
No, I get it. For me, it's just because I'm like, I don't know how much I'm going to read, so I don't know if I've achieved the goal or not. Like, I did not know today what my percentage was until an hour ago when I did the math. So yes, it's a personal thing of like not being able to keep track of the number unless it's a number and not a percentage.
Yeah, that is super fair. So I feel like 50% was a lot, and it just got away from me. I was not monitoring it particularly closely throughout the year or anything like that, but I think increasing by just a little bit will be good. So 30% books by BIPOC authors in 2022. And then, so the other one is, after you told me last night your goal for your physical TBR, I was trying to come up with something similar, and I don't know what my goal is going to be for that, but I feel like I need a goal for my physical TBR because it just continues to grow, and I don't reach for those books that I have purchased and are already in my home. And so I don't have a concrete goal for that, but I just want to do more. So I will maybe figure out a numerical value to assign to that in the coming episode. But for right now, it's just going to be reading more of that.
Hey, even just saying more of blank apparently works, because
apparently
that's what I did. Amazing. Well, I feel like, we achieved our goals pretty much. Like, or like the spirit, the intention of the goal. And I'm sure we will for 2022. And it's because of this podcast. So thank you for doing this podcast with me. Wow.
That is the real reason that we achieved our goals, is because we started a weird podcast. Look at us.
Yay, look at us. We're doing so good. And
proud of us.
A non-reading but book reading related goal for me is to edit the episodes timely, and they will come out the Monday following recording. So tomorrow.
Okay.
Tawny's like, no. But
no, I mean, that is very impressive. And
I'm giving myself like a hard deadline. So like Monday episode out, Tuesday my review, Wednesday nothing, Thursday Tawny review, the rest of the days of the week nothing. That's just that's the schedule.
Okay. I love this schedule. It's this is great. And please let me know how I can support you in that Monday goal.
Yes. Normally we record on a Friday or Saturday, so it's not usually this quick a turnaround, but we can do it. Anyway, I'm sure Megan and Jamie are really enjoying us talking shop during.
You guys are welcome. It's like you're hanging out with us.
It is, and we love it so much.
We do.
Tawny, I'm so excited to tell you about the books I read this year.
I'm very excited to hear about them.
So the first book that I'm going to talk about is Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade, which is the first in a series. And it's about April and Marcus, who are close friends and writing partners that help each other edit their fan fiction, which is usually surrounding the Aeneas and Lavinia ship on the hit fantasy series Gods of the Gates. You may think that this is about Game of Thrones. You could be right. Could it be a direct correlation to Game of Thrones? Maybe. I don't know. Is it about Jamie and is the ship the same correspondence as Jamie and what's her name?
Brienne.
Bria. Yes, it is. It's that ship indeed. But it's not Game of Thrones, it's Game of Thrones. But spoiler alert, Marcus is actually the hunky actor who plays Aeneas. And April, a plus-size geologist, ends up finally revealing like her fan fiction slash cosplay identity tendencies to the world via Twitter, which goes viral and catches the attention of some very rude cyberbullying internet trolls. So Marcus, having seen like this fan who posts a lovely cosplay as her as Olivia, getting all this cyberbullying, was like, I am gonna ask her on a date, so they shut up about it. And so they go on a date and to defy the internet trolls, but they don't know that they're each other's best friend fanfiction writing partners. Will they find out? What will happen? What? Who knows? It's just like such like a fun, cute read, especially as a fan of Game of Thrones and as someone who has consumed fan fiction. Like I've never written fan fiction. I'm not like that into the fan fiction culture, but like enough that I understood like tropes and everything, and it was like just like a very fun time. Um, there's like really good chemistry between the characters. I really liked how their romance develops, and there's like pretty dialogue. The characters are such good, interesting personalities, and they both have their own individual struggles they overcome with. Like, April is plus size and struggles with her body image, and then also struggles with like having this like nerdy, geeky, deep interest in something when she's supposed to be like a serious scientist and everything. And Marcus actually struggles with being dyslexic, and being an actor and like deciding like what he wants to do after this hit show is over. And so like I really loved the characters and how the romance plays out. My main criticism of the book, and this is something consistent in the series and is actually worse in the second book, is that April being plus size is called out like a lot and not always like in like a flattering or natural way. It's like it would be like Marcus's monologue and like, and then even though like her arms are large, or it would be like a weird like phrasing of it, and it just like would notice it every once in a while because these books are supposed to like celebrate like, you know, men can find plus size women attractive too. Like that's supposed to just be like a basic common thing, but it's called out so much and in such like a weird way that feels like off-putting, and I truly cannot imagine anyone like having like that thought in their head, like have like being in the act of having sex with someone who's like, yeah, her whatever's larger than normal. I'm like, that's like a weird thing. That's like a weird sentence, Olivia, Dade. I don't know. It's way worse in the second book because he keeps like the female protagonist in that one has bird-like features apparently, and he keeps like talking about how like she looks like a bird like all the time. It's like very strange. So both books, that is my negative. It's not a big thing, but it's something I thought about constantly. So still very good time. Highly recommend. A wholesome but still spicy, of course. Really, really good time, especially for like the nerd fandom generation. 4 out of 5 stars. Really cute. And that was Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade.
I'm really excited to pick this up eventually. I own it. I bought it on Kindle like several months ago, and I just have not read it because that is a thing that I do. I buy things and then I don't read them. But I'm very excited to pick this up perhaps this month or maybe next month. I want to pick it up soon though, because that sounds very, very cute.
Yeah. And then I did also read the sequel this month. It's in my I read too much column. I did like the first one better, but I did really enjoy the second one too. I'm interested to see if you pick up on like the same very specific critique that I have.
Yeah, okay. It sounds very off-putting to me, and I am a little concerned about it. But we're gonna
so minute, but I'm still like, okay, whatever. But yes, Tawny, please tell me about your first December book.
Okay. My first December book was The Heart Principle by Helen Hoang, which came out in 2021.
Yay! Just like immediate reaction, like yes. Did you read any of the ones before?
No.
And okay, so, sure.
Yeah. I owned this one. It was a book of the month pick from like sometime over last summer, and I just now got around to reading it. And I actually, so it's like let me talk about the book and then I'll tell you the weird things. So this book follows Anna, who's a violinist struggling with burnout and perfectionism after a video of her playing goes viral, and she feels just like this immense pressure to live up to the expectations generated from that. On top of that, she's dealing with the pressure to live up to her family's expectations as they take care of her sick father. Notice how I haven't talked about anything related to romance yet, because it's extremely secondary.
It's like this romance novel, and you're like, romance novel?
Where?
Sorry,
Where?
what?
And like, it's just extremely secondary to Anna's like mental health struggles and the realization that she might be on the autism spectrum. And the romance is there. It's cute. So like on top of everything that Anna is going through, Anna's boyfriend has just informed her that he wants to have an open relationship, essentially, so he can sow his wild oats before committing to marry her. In response, Anna decides that she is going to have like some one night stands to sow some wild oats of her own. And so she meets Quan on a dating app and keeps trying to have meaningless sex with him, but it turns out they just like want to hang out and watch ocean documentaries together. It's very cute. It's very cute. But like my reading experience, I think, benefited from two unlikely things. And the first is that I have not read The Kiss Quotient or The Bride Test, also by Helen Hoang, which are in this same universe. And from my understanding, those are like true rom-coms, still featuring like neurodivergent protagonists and everything like that, but they're romance novels. And so I didn't have any direct comparisons to her previous work when I was reading this. Additionally, I waited long enough to read this so that I had received all of this feedback on the book and was prepared that this was not actually a romance. So my expectations were kind of level set in that way. So I do think that despite this book not being quite as advertised, I think it was really well done, and it like investigates burnout culture and perfectionism in a really interesting way. And I was really rooting for like Anna specifically. I felt so much for her, and I really liked Quan as well. It was a very good book, so I gave this 4 stars for The Heart Principle.
Yeah, I was thinking about this book today too, and specifically, I was thinking about like the themes of like the burden family members are put upon when they have to take care of a family member, and they're just like given the job of caretaker without asking for it, and like how that was like such a dramatic and like huge part of it for Anna, like the main character in that book. That was just like a really impactful thing, and so I still think about this book after I read it like 3 months ago, like 4 months ago.
Yeah.
Very well written, and Helen Hoang keeps having like really good portrayals of people on the autistic spectrum disorder. Sometimes you're like, do I identify with this character too much? Maybe. It's fine. But I really love her writing. I really love her writing. And this, when I first read it, it was just jarring because the first 2 books were much more romantic comedies with more dramatic, more like serious elements, and this was like serious elements with some romantic comedy. So yes, I think probably going into like knowing that was the situation is very helpful. But I did really love this book. I personally, if you're listening and you haven't read it yet, I recommend reading Kiss Quotient first and then skipping The Bride Test and then reading this one. The Bride Test is not as good. So
okay. I was planning to read both eventually.
I just if you're 100 book a year person, sure.
That's true. I don't need to be choosy. I can just take them as they come to me. But yeah, this one, it was just, I was going to be on a plane, and this was a book that I had in my home, and so I that was the whole catalyst for picking it up out of order. But it was very good. It's emotional, and there's some particularly the stuff with her family was really difficult to get through for me. And so like know going in that it's going to be It's going to be hard. Like there's some dramatic stuff and there's some sad stuff. But it's definitely worth picking up. Highly recommend.
It's not a fun, fluffy time, but it is a good time.
Yeah. A quality time, but you know.
Okay, I'm really glad you liked it. That's good. Okay. My next book is Jar of Hearts by Jennifer Hillier, who wrote Little Secrets, which is a previous recommendation from me to Tawny earlier this in 2021. This is a story about Georgina Shaw, who was a young 30-something-year-old woman about to land a big promotion and a husband, the CEO of a prominent company, when she is arrested for assisting in the murder of her best friend, Angela Hoang, when she was 16 and dating serial killer Calvin Jones. So the story follows her during and after the arrest to prison, and and follows her being there, as well as Kaiser Brody, the detective who uncovered the evidence implicating Georgina Shaw, who was also her and Georgina and Angela's best friend. Like they were a best friend trio back in high school together. That's all I'm gonna say about the book, because it is real twisty, real windy road. Lots happen, very overwhelming. Just lots going on. Lots going on. It was really creepy. There was a lot to handle, but like I could not put it down. Read it in like one sitting in like 3 hours. Just like I had to know what was happening. The twists were really satisfying. Nothing came out of nowhere. There was one twist, one of the bigger ones, that I figured out like 10 pages before it happened. So it was like right when I was like, oh, I got it. And it was like, I was like, oh, that felt really good. And then it was like immediate satisfaction to be like, oh yes, I was correct about that. I felt like I really got to know the characters, and I think they're really interesting characters too, like how you can go down a path that leads you to doing like a terrible things, and then how you can get past that, or do you get past that at all, and then also like how the consequences your actions have. This is such a general thing to say because I do not want to spoil anything. Did you know your actions have consequences? Wow, what a great review by me. But it was really, really good. And I think it was also a really good and realistic portrayal of prison life, which is mostly the first third of the book, which is like very eye-opening and something I had not read before. Trigger warning for sexual assault. Just gonna put that in there. I'm just gonna say trigger warning for that. Yep, that happens. But like it was, I don't feel like it was like unnecessary. Like I felt like it had like it added a lot, and it was like a good tension point in the story. So yeah, Jar of Hearts by Jennifer Hillier, 4 out of 5 stars. Very overwhelming, very creepy, great time. Very excited for Tawny to read this soon.
Yes, I actually placed a hold on this immediately after you reviewed it on Goodreads. So theoretically, I will have this in some weeks from now. This sounds really good. I'm very excited.
She's like real. I've only read 2 books by her so far. She's really good at like tying up all those ends. Like it's like always very well plotted, and like I really appreciate that. So I'm looking forward to reading some more by her too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, so the next book that I read was The Idea of You by Robinne Lee, which came out in 2017. And as your self-appointed boy band correspondent, I did have to read this Harry Styles fan fiction. That if you were not aware, this is a Harry Styles fan fiction.
I have heard of this book. Did not know it was Harry Styles fan fiction. Did not know.
Oh. So we are following, and it is like,
does she have a messy bun? And then her mom comes in the room and she is like, daughter, we had to sell you to a bank. Is that how it starts?
You know what? That would be great, but that is not how this book starts.
Oh, okay, different fan fiction. Great. Okay.
Yeah, different one. So this one follows Celine, and she is just this like impossibly chic French art gallery owner woman. She's a 39-year-old mother whose preteen daughter is obsessed with the boy band August Moon. And when Celine takes her daughter and her friends to an August Moon concert and a meet and greet, they are invited backstage. The boy band's heartthrob, Hayes Campbell, shoots his shot with her, and they start a secret relationship. Listen, this is much better than I thought it would be. A lot of people really love this book. Specifically, Beatrice and Bubbly loves this book. I think she gave it 5 stars. But I was convinced that I would not like this. I was convinced that it was going to be pretty terrible. But it was like shockingly well done. First of all, the stakes are built really well. The way that Celine's life will be impacted if people find out about this relationship is really well established. It's taken really seriously. She also decides to keep the relationship a secret from her daughter because, of course, a 12-year-old would see this as a personal betrayal. Additionally, the relationship is developed really well. Like the way that it escalates from just like a casual fling to a consistent hookup to like much more is very natural. And I was like really invested. It like basically the whole time you're reading it and you're trying to figure out how these two could possibly end up together. But you're somehow still really rooting for it. I was surprised. I was surprised as anyone. This is also like really sexy. The sex scenes are really well done. It's like not over the top or gratuitous, but it's like very sexy the whole time. So there's that.
The way that it's on Kindle Unlimited, and I just downloaded it. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, okay, I'll do this. I'm in.
It's a fun time. It's a fun time. I'm excited for you to read it because I feel like I need to talk about the ending with someone because I have some thoughts about the ending. But one critique, which this will not affect most people who read this book, but I am deeply entrenched in boy band culture, and so there, you may or may not be aware there are have long been rumors that Harry Styles was in a relationship with a fellow boy band member, Louis Tomlinson. They are collectively known as Larry Stylinson. It's absolutely, it's weird stuff. It's a weird corner of the internet to be aware of. But this book kind of alludes to some stuff related to that, and I don't think it was handled particularly well. It was kind of weird and off-putting, and I feel like it just didn't need to be in the book at all. It's pretty subtle and it's pretty minor, but it's like there is another band member who it's very much implied that he is in love with Hayes Campbell and harbors secret feelings and is trying to like sabotage the relationship with Celine. And it just felt weird and unnecessary. So that's like my major critique, but overall I had like a pretty good time. I gave this 4 stars. It's The Idea of You by Robinne Lee.
on my way to tell everyone on my Discord server about it.
I can't wait for them to find out. Wow.
Incredible. Might be reading that this month. That sounds like a really fun time. From one sexy Kindle Unlimited book to another. The next book I'm reviewing is Neon Gods by Katee Robert. Unlike Tawny, I had less of a good time. This is a modern retelling of Persephone and Hades, where Persephone runs away from her forced engagement to mob boss, Senate man, I don't know, Zeus, and falls into Hades' territory. What is this? Is the a side of the city? Is it the underworld? I couldn't tell, don't know. She had previously thought Hades was dead because everyone on Olympus told her that Hades was dead, but he's not. He's right there and he's hot, apparently. She and Hades strike a deal that she can live with him under his protection until she gets old enough to gain ownership of her trust in just a few months. And not an exchange, and they will work together to tarnish her persona, which is virginal, sunshine, rainbows, spirit of spring, summer, through having sex, a lot of it, sometimes in public. Yeah, that's the plot of the book. Gonna be Tawny's on mute, but she's laughing really hard. Things that I liked. The characters were building for Persephone and Hades good. This is described on the internet as Sunshine Grumpy. They're both angsty. That's incorrect. I'm so sorry to tell you. It's not Sunshine is Grumpy, but they both have a lot to be angsty about, and they have interesting characters and interesting relationships. So giving it a point there. And then the spicy scenes were good. I will give it that. However, it was 80% spicy scenes. That's not, I didn't do the math, but I feel really confident in that estimate. And this is at the expense of any world building. I only know it's a modern retelling because that's what it says on the back of the book or in the book description online. I would have no way of knowing that's a modern retelling without that. I don't know what Olympus is, or they're there's a Hera, there's a Hades, there's a Zeus, there's all these characters, and they're all positions in the 13 houses, and when one dies, someone else becomes the Zeus, or it's a whole thing. I don't know what that is though. What is that? I kind of assume mafia, but I don't know what that is. I don't know how the world works at all. Hades has control of his side of the city across the river. I don't know how or why. Also, everyone's dumb because everyone's Hades is dead and is surprised when Hades is alive. But also half of the people know that Hades is alive because they go to his sex club. So are they lying to everyone? Or what's the situation? I don't know. I have a lot of questions. There's no world building at all. I don't understand anything about the surrounding of these characters have sex in a world. The world don't know what it is, but it's a world. That is Neon Gods. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, which feels generous. But listen, do you like Hades and Persephone and 50 Shades of Grey-esque porn? You should read this book.
A glowing review. Okay, so I am medium on potentially reading this book. I really think that I might. It's fairly popular, and I feel I just need to know things.
It's really popular on book TikTok.
Yeah.
And I read reviews saying favorite Hades Persephone retelling. And I'm okay.
Sure. Just say you want porn. It's fine. Oh goodness. Okay. So yeah, I'm not opposed to reading porn. Obviously,
no,
I just
me neither.
other book, but
I just thought there was gonna be more substance.
Yeah,
and then
I also assumed
there was not substance actually.
Yeah. So I might read this.
Yeah,
but
again, the benefit of knowing what you're getting into, I think will
Yes.
be big. I think that's big. Yeah,
I think so too.
I told my friend Emma about it, and she's like, "Great, sounds fun," and she had a great time, and it's because she knew going in the situation. Whereas I went in thinking spicy retelling of Hades Persephone, but that's egregious. That's a huge compliment to say retelling. I don't know. It's just I don't know. So
Okay.
listen, I didn't have a bad time. I was just expecting plot.
Yeah, that is fair.
One Goodreads review said it had an intricate plot, and I was like, that's an interesting description.
Okay. An intricate plot. Oh my god. Goodreads reviewer They'll say anything.
I love reading 5-star reviews of this book very much. I did that for quite a bit today. I was like, wow, you guys really like this book. Fair. Okay.
Okay,
Tawny, what did
so
you
you know what? I am also going to talk about a Greek god related book next. Because the next book I read was Lovely War by Julie Berry, which came out in 2019.
this is like a real book.
This is a real book.
This is a real book with like a real plot, and she's gonna sound so smart and like, wow,
No.
I read this actual book with plot.
No, that is not at all what this is gonna sound like. This is a historical romance fantasy kind of situation. So we open in 1942 during World War II. And Greek gods Aphrodite and Ares are caught having an affair by Aphrodite's husband Hephaestus. And she is then sort of put on trial, and she has to prove the importance of like the power of love. And so she, with the help of several other godly witnesses, including Hades and Apollo, tells the intertwining love stories of 4 mortals during World War I. This was delightful. And this is just such interesting framing. So we're mostly reading these 2 love stories, but from the perspective of the Greek gods. So we're getting invested in these romances, and then we're cutting sort of back to the gods, talking about how they made certain things happen and why they let these other things happen. And I just absolutely loved it. Before this, my last 5-star read was actually the Inheritance games back in October, and this just like revived me. I had not read anything that I like really loved in quite some time. I really enjoyed the 2 romances that we follow. This really could have been just a stuffy World War I historical fiction situation, but the addition of the Greek gods added so much. Like, it added levity, it added a much needed extra layer of interest. And it's such a strange concept, but it worked so well. It's sweet and it's funny and it's sometimes sad. And I just can't recommend it highly enough. 5 stars for Lovely War by Julie Berry.
Yeah, I got this on Kindle after you recommended it, and I haven't read it yet, but I'm really excited to. I can't remember, something else I was reading or watching was referencing the whole like prove your like the soulmate love Greek thing, and I guess it's not a book because I was just running through the books I read and I was like, no, it's none of these. So it's a familiar concept that I've got over, but yeah, no, that sounds really good. And like, it's funny because when you're describing the book at first, I was like, oh, it's not a stuffy World War I romance book. And you're like, no, there's a framing device for the stuffy romance.
Yes, that is exactly what it is. Because it is, we're following, like, it's these 2 soldiers and these 2 like volunteer ladies for the war. And it's like, under normal circumstances, I'd be like, this book is fine, but like boring. But with the framing device, it's just it's really, really interesting.
Okay, cool. I'm really
additionally, one of the male love interests is actually he's a Black soldier in the war, and the author did like a lot of research surrounding like Black soldiers in World War I and stuff. There's like a lot of historical notes that were in the back of the book that I found really interesting and enlightening. And it just was, it was helpful to know that like she handled the subject with care, because she is a white lady. So yeah, it's nice when people do research. So, yeah, Lovely War by Julie Berry.
Yeah, I'm really excited to read that. I also have a 5-star read next. I read Who is Maude Dixon by Alexandra Andrews, which is a debut novel. It follows Florence Darrow, who is a publishing assistant trying to make it in New York City, who is mysteriously hired by Maude Dixon, a celebrated but anonymous writer. And Florence accepts this job, moves to upstate New York to live with her to assist her with writing her novel and like administrative tasks. She finds out that Maude Dixon is Helen, who is a prickly woman who exudes confidence and wisdom and class. She loves good wine and opera, and like lives this like very idealistic life that Florence wants to mimic and embody. Florence becomes so enamored with her and thinks this arrangement is too good to be true, and it might it might be. And that is the plot summary, because again, no spoilers for you guys, because it is twisty, it is turny, it's so fun. I had such a good time. I think it's extra fun for anyone with like a passing knowledge or familiarity with the publishing world. Just like to like some references, and it's just fun. I don't have that much. I just watched that one show about the publishing world with Hilary Duff is in it. That's my one frame of reference at all. But still like was enough to like, I don't know. It was just like a really fun, it was very funny, it was clever, really sharp dialogue too. And that's like combined with it being like a twisty mystery thriller. It really was like a mystery thriller, but like it felt like contemporary, like snarky publishing fiction. Like that's like just like such an interesting combination. And also asks really interesting questions about what it means to be a writer, what it means to be successful, and what it means to be yourself and your own identity. I really, really loved it. Had a great time. Who is Maude Dixon by Alexandra Andrews.
I am very excited to read this. So I had only heard of this like vaguely. I feel like it had like a pretty prevalent ad campaign when it first came out, but it just wasn't really on my radar after that, and so I had no idea what it was even about or anything like that. But then you highly recommended it, so now I am really looking forward to reading it.
It was recommended to me by NPR, and I was like, cool, NPR. It is a very NPR ebook. It is like, ah, yes, this is the kind of book NPR would like, but it's still really good. I don't mean that in a bad way. But yes, no,
Excellent.
definitely pick it up. Definitely recommend. Really fun time. But yes, Tawny, your next one.
Yes, the next one that I'm going to talk about is Little Thieves by Margaret Owen, which came out in 2021. And I picked this up without knowing pretty much anything about it. I picked it up simply because I thought the cover was pretty, and that that works sometimes. This is a retelling of the fairy tale The Goose Girl. And we're following Vanya, who was the 13th daughter of a 13th daughter, which is a bad omen. And so when she was a child, she was given over to the gods of death and fortune to be raised as their goddaughter. Not wanting to be forced into a lifetime of servitude to her godmothers, she attempts to take back her life by stealing the life of the princess Giselle. So using magic, she temporarily disguises herself as Giselle and becomes a jewel thief, trying to get enough money to make her escape. And then with time running out on her magic, a young detective starts to suspect her as the thief. This was really fun. This is like Six Crimson Cranes, which I read last month, a retelling of a fable that I'm not actually familiar with. So I can't speak to its success as a retelling, but I loved it. It was a bit of a darker tale. And you're often wondering whether our protagonist is actually the villain and whether or not you should be rooting for her, but like the complex morality of the characters is executed so well. And it's not just Vanya, it's a lot of the side characters as well. And it just makes for really rich character development. There is also a fun romance, which appealed to me specifically as someone who thinks that Jean Valjean and Javert probably should just kiss. Yeah, I highly recommend this. I gave this 4 stars. It was Little Thieves by Margaret Owen.
Oh, that sounds really fun. I read a couple, like not like 2 Goose Girl retellings before, like in high school, and really liked them, but this sounds like really good. So I'm gonna add that to my list too. Cool.
I highly recommend.
Last book, I was another 5-star read for me, and it's Heartstopper by Alice Oseman, which was one of the several graphic novels I read in December to reach 100 books on time, because you can read a graphic novel real fast. But this is an adorable high school age romance graphic novel. It follows Charlie, who's openly gay and an anxious boy, and Nick, who is a very like cheerful teddy bear, straight rugby player. And they meet and they develop a close friendship. And could it grow into something more? Who knows? This is just such a cute, perfect, quick read. Like, Tawny, you gotta make yourself a cup of tea or hot cocoa and just have a cozy morning. You'll read it in like an hour. Probably also the second one within the same hour. I think they're both like I got them from the library immediately. I'm just waiting for the third one now. So cute. Like just really adorable time. Still like, grapples with the issues of like coming out and like choosing friends that are good for you versus friends that aren't. But like so many like moments because it's like it's so cute and I care about them so much and I just want them to be happy, and mostly they are, and they are precious boys, and both the art and the story is adorable. You can read this in graphic novel version like hardcover or from the library, but you can also just go to the artist's Tumblr, Alice's Osmond's Tumblr, where it's all there also. Just depends on how you prefer to read it. Really really loved it. Just like a very sweet comic book about two boys falling in love. Yeah. I'll give it 5 out of 5 stars. Yeah.
I might read. I was telling Katee I struggle to get into graphic novels and comic books and things of that nature. This does sound very cute, and I feel like everyone rates it so highly. So I might pick this up. I feel like I just should. I feel like I should just give it a shot, and if I don't get into it, then I don't get into it. But
and it also
low
like
commitment.
It'll be over by the time you discover if you're into it or not. So
that's true. That's true. So yes, I will probably pick this up.
Yes. Yay. Tawny, what was the last book for the section for you?
My last book is Maid by Stephanie Land, which came out in 2019. And like, do we just read casually nonfiction now? Wow. This is no, we don't. I did in fact have to pick this up as an audiobook because I feel like that is my preferred way to consume nonfiction now. It feels better. But this is a memoir by Stephanie Land, a single mother in Washington struggling through poverty and homelessness with her young daughter. Stephanie ends up taking a job as a maid, and she tells her story almost in like vignettes as related to specific homes that she was cleaning that she associates with specific parts of her story. So first of all, Stephanie's story and her perspective are really important. She describes things like how difficult it is to apply for government assistance, and how degrading it can feel to ask for that kind of help, the way that people treat you when they find out that you're on government assistance, and the way that many of her clients barely even saw her as human or treated her well while she was cleaning their homes. And I'm really glad that this book exists and that it's been successful. However, there were a couple of things that I wanted from this that I just didn't really get. The first is that I was hoping for like a more cohesive story or message. There were large sections of this book that were essentially just her describing gross stuff that she had to clean, which I'm sure felt good to like tell people about, but narratively it felt very strange. And the end of the book, the thing that finally enables her to start turning her life around was that she took out student loans so that she could work less and focus on school. And I mean, I'm glad for her. It just felt like an odd ending point and didn't present any kind of like overarching message. And it also made me feel just very nervous for her already precarious financial situation. So I wanted there to be a main takeaway, but this is more just like a description of the physical, mental, and emotional tolls that poverty can take on a person. Additionally, and like I obviously know that she is not a policy expert or anything like that, but she comes so close to talking about and identifying systemic issues in this country that lead to cycles of poverty and disenfranchisement and stigma and everything like that. But she never quite digs into those in a satisfying way. And I think that could have been helpful. But so this is essentially, it's an eye-opening slice of life perspective, but it's not much else. It's not any kind of like action plan. It's not a message. It is just, this is my story kind of thing. I do think that this was fine, and I do think that it's worth picking up, but I'm glad that I consumed it as an audiobook because I think I might have struggled to stay invested if I read it physically. So 3 stars for Maid by Stephanie Land.
You have convinced me to not pick this up. I had like interest in it. I'm like, no, it's gone. It's been dissolved from.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It's sorry.
Okay.
And
now I know. That's part. That's
yeah.
part of the point of this is to be like, no, I will not. Sounds like no, nah.
Yeah. Not for everyone.
Not for Katie's in the world. Yeah. No. But that's okay because so little nonfiction is. Tawny, we completed the main portion of the podcast.
We did it.
Recently, we've been able to just keep going, but I have to go to the bathroom. So we're going
to do too. Yes.
Amazing.
Great.
Incredible. Great. So I'm going to pause. We'll be right back after the break.
Do that.
We're back. Tawny and I just kept talking about the book during the break.
Oops.
Whoops. For our in-depth section, we're so excited to talk about Finlay Donovon is Killing It by Elle Cosimano, which was a big rec from Tawny just a couple months ago, and I read it this month. Wow.
Yes. So yeah, I read this back in July, and this is like kind of a comedy mystery thriller situation. Finlay Donovon is a single mother whose husband recently left her for their real estate agent. She's also a murder mystery romance author who is very, very behind on delivering the first draft of her book to her editor. She has a meeting with her agent at a local Panera to discuss the particulars of this book, but their conversation is overheard by another patron at a nearby table who mistakenly thinks that she is actually a hitman and offers Finlay a lot of money to kill her husband. That is it for the non-spoiler summary.
And now we will go into the spoiler section. Here we go. Spoilers. And then she accidentally kills him.
Yep. Through a series of misadventures, like she goes to the place where she knows the man is going to be. She's like, I'm just gonna scope it out. And then the man gets drugged, I believe. And then
he was going to drug a woman at the party.
Yes.
And then he takes it himself. And she's like, oh, okay. And then like stuffs him in her car. And it's like, fine. And then she has to like defend herself from like the hot bartender coming on to her like, no, you can't come home with me, I have a dead man in my car. But she doesn't say that. And then she drives home, leaves him in the car, goes to the kitchen to deal with something, comes back, has found that the engine has been running with the garage door closed, so he died of carbon monoxide poisoning. Just like it just gets more ridiculous, and it's just like such a fun concept and setup. And Finlay is like just so good at being bad at everything. Just like everything just like magically falls into place for it to all be okay. And it's just like, and then like more people are like, oh, you could kill my husband. And she's like, no, please, no. They're like, well, you did such a good
any more husbands.
Such a good job.
She nailed it. And like, it's so fun. It's very outlandish. It's a bit ridiculous, but it's also just like, I feel like it's just grounded enough where like, so some of it doesn't feel impossible, I guess,
no,
but it's
not
like,
at all. It's like, this is how I feel about like my academic success. It's just like, I keep like, I go to U Chicago. I graduate. People are like, okay, so you're qualified to do other things. Okay, so you're qualified to attend Johns Hopkins. Here's a master's degree. Oh, so you did that. So you're qualified to have a PhD. I was just like, oh my god, like please, like,
No, I'm not.
no, stop it. I was just like, oh my god. Yeah, it is just grounded enough for it to work out. And I just in my head I'm just like, this would be such a fun miniseries with like Kristen Wiig as like for
Yes.
you know, like
oh my god, yes.
yes, that'd be
and
so good.
and there one of my favorite parts is actually the like friendship that develops between her and her babysitter. Like her babysitter like catches her you know, being an accidental hitman, and the babysitter's like, yeah, I'll help you, let's do it.
Yeah, because at first she's like, I mean, whatever, you're all crazy. And then like
Yeah.
they talk more, she's like, no. Yeah, I'll get a 40% cut for referrals. And Finlay's like, referrals? Like Vero, the nanny's already thinking, I'm like, oh, if she's just gonna fall into like this continuously, like let's go.
Yeah.
I also really liked it. I gave it 4. I think you gave it 5. I like
I did.
it. Like I had like a couple of pacing issues, and then just like Finlay started to annoy me like a little bit. Just like I'm like, oh my god, can you please just accomplish anything correctly? Just like, you know,
Just
it's
do
just
it.
like it was grounded and realistic, but I was just like, okay, like I've had this shtick. Can we move past this shtick? But like how it all resolved was like very satisfying, and like I had a really really good time. And I think like the romantic triangles, I guess square, I guess is like handled really well. Also with like her being like, oh, the police detective is the reasonable option, but the bartender is hot, but my husband is, you know, it's just like things like that. But
yeah,
yeah,
he is the father of my children, I guess.
yeah, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, I feel if anything, like there's not a lot of her actually being a mom content. Like the most is at the beginning where she like gives her daughter a terrible haircut and then puts like some bangs on some duct tape and puts it on her head, and she's like, good enough. And I'm just like, okay. And then like a lot of this is like so she can have enough money to afford a lawyer so she can have custody of her children. And it's like, should you have custody of your children
as a murderer?
as, even just as the person that you are. And it's like, and it's just like there. I feel like I was missing like any emotional connection of like between her and her kids. Like they always seem like an obstacle, a burden, like someone they need to pick up, and not like her actually like liking being a mom, you know? And I felt like and I think that's I think that's something that could be explored, but I felt like it wasn't explored or it was missing. It was like one of the two things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. For me, that is generally how I feel about children.
No, that's fair. But you're not murdering someone so you can have money to have custody of your children.
Also true. Yeah, I also don't have children. So, you know, and there's a reason. Well, there's lots of reasons, but like it's like a primary reason. And so I do get that like that honestly didn't even register for me. I was just like, sure, you know, whatever. There will be kids in the background. But yeah, like for me, I gave it 5 just because it was just such a fun ride for me. I just had such a fun time reading it, and it just went very quickly for me. So that was why it was a 5-star read. This is not like knock your socks off literature or anything like that, but if you're looking for like a quick fun time with some murder and some romance, this is it.
Excellent. Like very good time. Really enjoyed it. Good recommendation by Tawny. Really had a good time. But yeah.
Also, I think we have both now recommended this to Jamie.
Jamie would love it.
Jamie, this book is for you.
Jamie, read this book.
For you.
You wouldn't be listening to the section because this is the spoiler section.
Oh, that's right. But
I'll tell you tomorrow to read it. It's time for everyone's favorite section. we read too much. And for the first time, I read too much. It's the first time. Wow.
You read so much.
I'm giving myself 2 minutes, and I'm going first to get it over with. So, okay, oh my god. I wrote down all the books and the authors and my rating, but that's it. So, we'll see.
I believe in you. You got this.
Oh my god, it just started going without my permission. Okay, are we ready? House of M by Brian Bendis, 3 stars. Partially the source material for WandaVision. Overwhelming, just okay, whatever. Monstrous by Marjorie Liu, graphic novel about witch is murder. Scary, very scary, but very pretty. Also 3 stars. Stopover by T.L. Swan. Kindle Unlimited thought was just going to be porn, but there was plot. Woman meets man on airplane, they have sex, they fall in love, and then they find each other later. 3.5 stars. Little White Lies by Jennifer Lynn Barnes of the Inheritance Games. Mystery set in debutante high society and high school age. Fun, not amazing. 3 stars. Finding Cinderella by Colleen Hoover. Novella takes place in the events after Hopeless, which I've not read, so maybe that would have helped. It was cute, it was fine, it was just 3 stars. Barbarians Prize by Ruby Dixon. This is one of the Ice Planet Barbarians Blue Alien porn books. This was my favorite one, 3 stars. Barbarians Mate, the sequel to that one. This is my least favorite one, 2 stars. Foxhole Court. Weird, very confusing. Fake sport boys, nothing makes sense. I don't know what's happening. It's by Nora Sakarev, has such high ratings. I gave it 2 stars, bad time. Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hilber. Very good, read it, 4 stars. It's cute, rom-com. Also, disability, whatever. All the Feels by Olivia Dade. Sequel to Spoiler Alert, 3 stars. Not as good, but still a fun time. Laura Olympus, an actually good Hades Persephone retelling graphic novel by Rachel Smith, 4 stars. I don't know what those words are. I can't read them. A City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. Mortal Instruments episode coming soon, 3 stars. Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. This is Christmas time porn. Grumpy Sunshine, it's not good, 2 stars. I Want to Be Where the Normal People Are by Rachel Bloom. If you like Rachel Bloom, you should read this, but otherwise, skip it, 3 stars.
You nailed it.
I nailed it.
Oh my gosh. So impressive. Oh my god. How did you do it?
By not having that lengthy reviews for any single one.
Listen, it's hard though. It's hard, especially off the cuff. Yes. So yes. Wow. Okay. I have just far fewer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 that I'm gonna do in my 90 seconds. So it's gonna be
I'm manifesting for you to experience one the time where you just have one book to review. It's
gonna happen one time, and it's gonna be so
really,
nice.
You're like, this is a long time to talk about this book that I didn't want to talk about.
Oh man, that's gonna be great. That's gonna happen one time in 2022. Maybe that should be my goal. Anyhow. Here I go. Mistletoe and Mr. Right by Sarah Morgenthaler. This is the second book in the same rom-com versus The Tourist Attraction. This is a cute holiday grumpy sunshine rom-com. There's a very weird moose subplot, and the ending felt very rushed, but I do recommend it, 3 stars. Mortal Instruments books 1 through 3 by Cassandra Clare. This is an early aughts YA fantasy series about incest. It is also Harry Potter fan fiction. What a weird time. Tune into It Feels Like the First Time episode for every thought, 2-ish stars. The Infernal Devices trilogy by Cassandra Clare, prequel series to the Mortal Instruments, a million times better, and I cried again. We'll talk about it on Feels Like the First Time, 4-ish stars. The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. Single mom participates in a DNA matching dating experiment and ends up getting the highest ever match rating with the owner of the company. As a PR push from the company, she agrees to fake date him, and I really loved it, 4 stars. The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dade. A woman's husband goes missing, leaving her and her stepdaughter trying to solve the mystery of his disappearance. Read this because of the hype, and it was actually way more compelling than I thought it would be, 4 stars. The Matzo Ball by Jean Meltzer. Hanukkah rom-com following Rachel, daughter of a rabbi, who's the secret author of dozens of Christmas romance books, who gets a second chance with her middle school camp boyfriend, chronic illness rep, but Rachel was infuriatingly immature, 3 stars. Duke Actually by Jenny Holiday. Friends to lovers, holiday romance between a duke and a college professor with an excellent dog. I loved it. 4 stars. Wow, I did it. 5 seconds to spare.
Easy peasy. 7 books in 90 seconds. Wow. I love that My City of Bones was just like, we'll talk about it later.
I just had to get my jabs in where I can.
Wow, incredible. Yeah. I feel like I should have talked about Foxhole Court longer just because I know it's really popular. But I also didn't understand anything that was happening, so I don't have that much to add.
I after you talked about it on our Bookering Awards episode, I looked at like the Goodreads, and 3 people that I follow have rated it. 1 gave it 4 stars, 1 gave it 2 stars, and 1 DNF'd it. And I was like, okay, great. I don't need to experience this.
Yeah, it's a time. Tawny, wow. We did it. The first episode of 2022. We did it. And I'm so excited for our first episode of 2022 with the books that we read in 2022 in February. Wow. Yeah, cool. Do we have anything else to say? Follow us on Instagram at BookeringPod and Twitter at BookeringPod, where we have content.
We do. Semi-regular
content is there. Also, our website, bookeringpod.com, has things. Eventually, a database of every book that we've talked about. That is on my to-do list. Wow. If you want to follow me specifically, I'm at CatZellNerd on Instagram and at CatZellNerd everywhere else, such as Twitter and Goodreads. Tawny, where can people find you?
You can find me at Tawny Waterman on Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads. Yeah. Wow. These are the places.
Incredible. We got things. Amazing. Well, we're so excited for the new year. I had actually a very good 2021, and I hope 2022 is just as good, if not better. And I know that this podcast will still be a highlight of it, no matter what. So thank you, Tawny, for potting with me. What a good time.
Thank you, Katee, for potting with me. It's my favorite. It's my favorite thing that we do.
The whole world. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.